Welcome back to another deep dive on scaling legends. I want to start today by looking at what basically everyone else in the industry is doing right now.
Right, the shiny object syndrome.
Exactly, because right now, across the industry, you've got construction firms fighting tooth and nail over shrinking private commercial contracts. I mean, everyone is chasing the exact same glistening new high-rises.
Yeah, the massive commercial developments, those big tech campuses going up in the suburbs.
Right, the highly visible stuff. But meanwhile, there is a $6.3 billion construction pipeline just hiding in plain sight right now, today.
And it's completely invisible to, what, like 90% of the industry?
Easily. We are talking about the New York City public housing sector, the New York City Housing Authority, or NYCHA. There are currently 506 active projects underway across all 5 boroughs.
Which really makes it the absolute definition of a hidden Goliath. I mean, while the broader market is stressing out over fluctuating interest rates and, private developers pulling funding, this massive public works ecosystem is quietly minting entirely new generations of successful construction firms.
So our mission for today's deep dive is to basically break open this infrastructure boom. We're going to reveal exactly which specialized trades are in desperate demand right now.
And we're giving you, the contractor listening to this right now, a literal step-by-step blueprint for how to get your firm onto that bid list.
Yes, exactly. And just to be completely transparent about where all these staggering numbers and strategies are coming from, the insights for today's deep dive come directly from Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report.
Having that specific roadmap is incredibly timely too. Because if you're running a construction business today, you know how heavily your balance sheet relies on predictability.
Predictability is everything.
It is. And public works, especially housing infrastructure, provide decades of stable, recession-proof revenue. A contract with an agency like NYCHA isn't just, another job on the whiteboard.
Right.
It's foundational stability. It's the kind of backlog that allows a company to confidently scale up, buy new equipment, and retain top talent, regardless of what the broader economy is doing.
Okay, so let's start by looking at the sheer magnitude of this Goliath.
Okay.
Because before we get into the how of winning the work, you really need to understand why the initial effort of breaking into the system is so worth it.
Yeah, you have to see the scale.
Right. In 2025 alone, NYCHA spent an unprecedented $1.25 billion on construction.
Just massive.
Billion with a B. That is the highest annual spend in their entire history. And 2026 is already on track to match or even exceed it.
And to put that in perspective, this isn't just a one-off spike. This is a sustained surge. Over the last 5 years, $5.1 billion in construction was completed.
Wow.
Yeah, across 810 different projects. So they've maintained a capital spend of over $1 billion a year for 4 consecutive years now.
Which translates to real human impact, too. I mean, this initiative has created over 620 full-time construction jobs, and over half of those have gone directly to NYCHA residents.
Which is such a great model.
It really creates this fantastic economic loop for the city, right? And
Yeah.
people living in the communities are being paid prevailing wages to literally rebuild those same communities.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But I have to play devil's advocate here for a second, because we do need to talk about the backlog. The $78.3 billion repair backlog.
That number is just, it's hard to even process.
It is. $78.3 billion is literally the cost of rebuilding an entire mid-sized American city from scratch. So with a backlog that astronomically high, my immediate thought is this just a temporary political spending spree to make a dent before an election? Or is this a permanent structural shift in how the city actually funds housing repairs?
Well, that is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the reality of that $78.3 billion backlog guarantees that the work simply cannot slow down.
Okay.
This is absolutely a permanent, multi-decade institutional pivot. Because you have to consider the physical reality of these structures, right? Buildings constructed in the 1940s and 50s are reaching the end of their structural lifespans all at the exact same time.
Right, they're all aging out together.
Exactly. Roofs, boilers, elevators, facades, they don't care about election cycles. They don't care about municipal budgets. They are failing organically, and they have to be replaced.
So it's forced momentum. The city really has no choice but to keep the spigot open.
Which offers unparalleled job security for contractors who are willing to get their foot in the door today. Once you're inside their procurement ecosystem and you prove your crews can deliver, you're setting your firm up for decades of continuous work.
Here's where we need to follow the money, though. If the funding is guaranteed for years, the natural next question you're probably asking yourself is who is currently absorbing these massive contracts?
Right. Who's actually doing the work?
Because we are seeing some absolute heavy hitters dominating this space right now.
We are. We're seeing unprecedented joint ventures. You have firms like MDG Design Plus Construction, who have rehabilitated over 10,000 apartments and act as the general contractor on multiple massive projects.
10,000 apartments is wild.
And then you have Wavecrest Management, who oversees something like 26,000 affordable units.
And when those two giants team up, you get RDC Development. They are currently tackling the $492 million Williamsburg houses renovation.
Almost $500 million.
On one single project, we're also seeing the community builders leading the $222.6 million Metro North Plaza project, and Infinite Horizons is acting as a co-developer on the $391 million Eastchester Gardens site.
The mechanism behind how these specific developers are unlocking this kind of capital is fascinating, though.
It's not just city tax dollars, right?
No, not at all. It's not just a matter of the city writing a bigger check. This entire boom is driven heavily by the PCT partner model.
Okay, PAYCT, standing for Permanent Affordability Commitment Together. Let's break that down.
Yeah, under the PAYCT model, public housing developments are basically transitioned over to project-based Section 8 funding.
Let's pause and really break down the mechanics of that, because understanding why switching to Section 8 matters is crucial for a construction contractor. How does a funding reclassification translate to more jobs for the listener?
Because it completely revolutionizes the cash flow. It frees up private capital.
Okay, how?
When a property moves to Section 8, it creates a legally guaranteed, federally backed rental income stream for that specific building.
Yeah.
Private developers and management companies form partnerships, these PAYCT partners, to take over the management and rehabilitation of the buildings.
Oh, I see.
Right. So armed with that newly guaranteed federal revenue stream, those private developers can walk into major private banks and borrow hundreds of millions of dollars up front to fund massive property-wide capital repairs.
So the city isn't paying out of pocket all at once. The private developers are leveraging the guaranteed future rent to borrow the massive sums needed to fix the buildings today.
Exactly, which completely bypasses traditional slow drip municipal funding constraints. Instead of the city fixing, one roof a year, as the budget allows, a PAYCT partner can secure $400 million on a Tuesday and replace every roof, boiler, and elevator in the complex simultaneously.
That makes sense, but I can hear the mid-sized contractor listening to this getting a bit anxious, though.
Why is that?
Well, historically, when massive joint ventures and huge developers swoop in to scoop up $500 million prime contracts, they hoard the work.
Oh, sure.
Is there any oxygen left in the room for the business owner running a specialized, say, 40-person trade crew? It sounds like a rich-get-richer scenario where the big guys just eat the whole pie.
Validating that fear is so important because historically, you're right, that is exactly how public works operated. But the legal landscape of utilization mandates has completely flipped the power dynamic in favor of the specialized subcontractor.
Really? Flipped it how?
Those massive developers and prime contractors are actually the ultimate golden ticket for mid-sized firms. To even win those $400 million contracts, the primes must fulfill incredibly stringent utilization mandates.
Ah, okay.
They are legally required to subcontract out massive percentages of the overall work to local, specialized, and minority-owned trade partners.
So they're essentially legally mandated to hire the mid-sized contractor listening to this right now. They literally cannot execute the project without you.
They will face massive financial penalties or lose the contract entirely if they don't utilize you. Which brings us directly to the mandatory steps required for mid-sized firms to actually capture this work.
Because the primes desperately want to hire you, but they can only legally cut you a check if you're properly registered and compliant within the city system.
Exactly.
Which brings us to everyone's favorite topic, bureaucracy. Because prime contractors are mandated to utilize diverse subcontractors, getting properly registered is really the only true barrier to entry.
It is. It's just paperwork.
So we're going to demystify the red tape right now and walk through the exact non-negotiable 6-step bidding and financial playbook. And more importantly, explain why these steps exist so they don't just feel like arbitrary hurdles.
Right. So step 1 is the absolute baseline. You must register on the NYCHA iSupplier portal.
iSupplier, okay.
It is completely free, it's entirely online, and it generally takes about 72 hours for approval.
Yeah.
If you aren't on iSupplier, you literally do not exist to the housing authority.
Good to know. Step 2, you need a nyc.id account. This is actually a relatively new requirement that just went into effect in April 2025.
Yeah, that caught a few people off guard.
Instead of having 12 different logins for 12 different city agencies, it acts as your universal digital key. It integrates your business across the entire municipal ecosystem.
Which is honestly a relief.
Yeah.
Now, step 3 is critical and also very new. As of December 2024, you must complete your New York State Department of Labor registration under Section 220I.
So why did the state add a brand new hurdle just this past December?
It is a direct crackdown on prevailing wage theft.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, the state wants a centralized, pristine database of exactly who is working on public projects to ensure fair labor standards are being met across the board. They want to know your firm has a clean history before you ever step foot on an NYCHA site.
Got it. Okay, step 4 is where the real financial leverage comes in. If you qualify, you must get your MWBE certification, that's Minority or Women-Owned Business Enterprise, through the NYC Department of Small Business Services.
This is huge.
Because we mentioned utilization mandates earlier, there is a strict 25% MWBE utilization requirement on these projects.
And just think about the math on that. 25% of a $400 million project is $100 million that legally must go to certified MWBE firms.
That is a guaranteed slice of the pie.
If you have this certification, prime contractors will actively hunt you down to fulfill their quotas.
That's incredible. Okay, step 5, join the pre-qualified lists or PQLs for your specific trade.
What does that actually entail?
It basically means submitting your credentials, your safety records, and your financial capacity up front. Once you're on a PQL, you aren't fighting in the open market anymore. You get direct, targeted invitations to bid on projects that are perfectly tailored to your capabilities.
So much better than just cold bidding.
And finally, step 6 is the operational follow-through. You have to consistently monitor the NYCHA procurement page and the city record to track when new requests for proposals or RFPs actually drop.
Okay, I need to push back hard here, though.
Go for it.
You're giving me a 6-step government checklist, but we haven't even touched the financial nightmare that usually accompanies public works. Let's talk about what prevailing wage compliance actually looks like for the person doing payroll on a Thursday night.
It is not fun.
No. You aren't just cutting a check for $80 an hour. You are tracking base rates, union dues, and specific fringe benefits for every single hour worked by every single person on that site.
And one math error on a certified payroll can literally halt $1 million payment. Exactly. Add to that the requirement to post massive performance and payment bonds. How does a growing business handle the massive cash flow and bonding bottlenecks without going bankrupt while waiting 60 days for public money to actually clear?
Look, it is the exact reason so many great contractors walk away from public works. They win a beautiful $2 million subcontract, they staff up, they buy materials, and then they get starved of cash waiting for the city to process the requisition.
It's the silent killer.
But there are specific financial tools designed exactly to bridge this gap. The Small Business Administration, or SBA, have loan solutions perfectly tailored for the public works ecosystem.
But if traditional banks hate bonding construction firms because of the inherent risk of the industry, how does a mid-sized guy actually get the bond required to win the bid?
That is exactly where the SBA 7A program comes in. The 7A program is incredible for public works contractors because it specifically covers surety bonds and equipment financing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the SBA provides the federal backing to mitigate the risk for the lender. It allows you to secure that performance bond without locking up all your operating capital.
That's huge. What about the MWBE firms trying to secure the capital to execute on that 25% mandate we talked about?
The SBA's 8A Business Development Program is the ultimate tool for them. It is built from the ground up to help disadvantaged businesses secure public contracts.
What kind of support does it offer?
It provides direct mentorship, administrative support, and critical working capital to ensure that when an MWBE firm wins a massive subcontract, they actually have the financial foundation to execute it without drowning in upfront costs.
But we still have the terrifying 30 to 60-day payment gap, though. You have electricians or plumbers pulling massive prevailing wages every single Friday, but NYCHA pays on a massive delay.
That's where SBA microloans and community advantage loans come in. They act as your short-term bridge capital.
Walk me through an example of that.
Sure. Imagine our specialized plumbing contractor. They use these microloans to cover their massive prevailing wage payrolls for weeks 1 through 6. The crews stay happy, the work continues, and then the contractor pays off the microloan the second that first big government requisition check finally clears on day 60.
Wow.
You're essentially using the government's own backed lending programs to float the government's payment delays.
That completely neutralizes the cash flow terror. So assuming we've cleared the bureaucratic hurdles and structured our bridge capital, let's look at where the actual physical work is happening right now.
Let's do it.
We need to understand the mechanism behind the demand. Which trades are printing money in this ecosystem?
The demand is heavily concentrated in essential infrastructure, and the underlying logic is all tied to the aging nature of these buildings. Let's start with plumbers and pipe fitters. Right now, there are 77,000 open work orders just for mold and leaks.
77,000 active orders. That is insane.
Right. But as any contractor knows, mold is just a symptom. The root cause is almost always plumbing failing pipes inside the walls.
So it's not just a quick fix.
No, the demand isn't just for patching leaks. The demand for pipe fitters to do complete systemic overhauls is off the charts because the 70-year-old galvanized piping is fundamentally failing.
Okay, then you have elevator mechanics. There are 3,163 elevators across the NYCHA portfolio. Currently, 126 are actively under construction or being replaced, and another 172 are in the design phase.
And you can't just order a standard 2025 elevator car from a catalog and drop it into a shaft built in 1948.
Yeah, absolutely not.
These are completely custom, highly complex retrofits requiring incredibly specialized vertical transportation mechanics.
Yeah.
It is an absolute gold rush for that trade.
And the same mechanism applies to HVAC and boiler technicians. They have 105 massive heating systems under construction right now. We are talking about ripping out decentralized aging boilers and replacing them with modern energy-efficient central systems just to comply with new city emissions standards.
And we can't forget the exterior trades. Bricklayers are booming, largely driven by Local Law 11, which requires rigorous ongoing facade inspections and repairs across the city to prevent masonry from falling onto the sidewalks.
NYCHA is paying a direct higher base rate of $54.42 an hour just for bricklayers.
And lead abatement is another massive sector. There is currently $88 million just in testing contracts, with ongoing remediation across 135,000 apartments.
And electricians are pulling a base rate of $38.74 an hour, which scales significantly higher on specific prevailing wage project contracts.
Yeah.
So rebuilding a 400-unit boiler system or doing a custom elevator retrofit sounds incredibly complex.
Honestly, doing the physical field work, laying the brick, running the pipe, wiring the panels is actually the easy part.
Really?
Yeah. The administrative burden is what actually kills contractors on government jobs, not the construction itself.
The paperwork.
Exactly. Managing prevailing wage certified payrolls, maintaining incredibly detailed daily logs that inspectors scrutinize, tracking endless requests for information, or RFIs, across dozens of stakeholders. The paperwork will bury you long before the physical labor does.
So what does this all mean for the business owner? I mean, how do you scale up to take on 5 NYCHA contracts simultaneously without having to hire a dozen new project engineers just to push paper? That ruins your profit margins.
Well, according to Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report, the most successful firms scaling in this space are using technology to completely flatten their administrative overhead.
Okay.
They're utilizing tools like Smart Business Automator, which essentially acts as an AI project assistant built specifically for the unique pains of construction.
Because throwing human headcount at government paperwork is a guaranteed way to bleed cash. How exactly does the technology alleviate that specific pain point?
Take their Smart Document Organization feature. On a government job, you generate thousands of photos, permits, RFIs, and daily submittals.
Mountains of it.
Right. Instead of a project manager spending 3 hours a day manually dragging and dropping files into nested folders, the AI automatically tags, sorts, and categorizes every single document the second it is generated based on the project parameters.
And it also handles the daily logs, which is huge because government inspectors will literally shut down a job site if the daily logs aren't flawless.
Yep. It takes the messy, voice-to-text field reports from your superintendents who are busy actually running the job and turns them into pristine, compliant daily log summaries with clear action items.
This saves so much time.
It also features schedule risk detection, where the AI constantly reviews the project schedule against the actual daily activity logged by the crews. It flags bottlenecks before they turn into expensive liquidated damages.
Plus, it integrates seamlessly through an API, which is basically just a digital bridge directly into whatever core business management or ERP software you already use. So nobody's doing double data entry. It's essentially essentially like hiring an invisible, hyper-efficient project manager who works 24/7 just to handle government specs, compliance checks, and budget variance. You don't have to quadruple your office headcount just to keep up with the housing authority's demands.
Leveraging the SBA for your financial capital and leveraging AI for your administrative capital is really the only proven way to profitably scale a business in this sector.
It really is a complete blueprint. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's critical to take a step back and look at the broader picture here.
Yeah, because beyond the profit margins, beyond the $6.3 billion pipeline and all the operational efficiencies, there is a massive social impact at play here.
Absolutely.
Consider what happens to the very fabric of New York City if agile, local contractors don't step up to tackle this $78.3 billion backlog.
Right.
We are talking about the living conditions of hundreds of thousands of residents.
It's real people.
Seniors sitting in apartments with failing heat in the dead of January. Families dealing with systemic mold because of pipes that should have been replaced a decade ago.
Right.
This isn't just about securing your company's financial future. It is about fundamentally rescuing the infrastructure that supports the most vulnerable citizens of the city. It raises a very real question. If you have the skills, the crews, and now the blueprint, well, if you don't bid, who will?
That is a powerful thought to leave on. The work is there, the funding is guaranteed, and the city needs you. If you know a contractor who is looking to scale their public works portfolio or needs prevailing wage jobs, send them this episode. It could be the catalyst that gets them their first NYCHA contract. Hit follow on whatever app you're listening on so you don't miss tomorrow's intel. And be sure to visit smartbusinessautomator.com.